Fine.
Yes, sir. Dear members, Assalamu alaikum. Abdul Qayyum is with you. And in context of the upcoming ICMAP's National Council elections, are as on 24th January, we are interviewing the contesting candidates for elections. Main purpose of this interview series is to explore the personalities and visions of the contesting candidates for all the members, and particularly for overseas members, to provide them opportunity to know them more, because usually they have very less chances of interactions with the ICMAP's council members and other management. So today I'm going to take opportunity of interviewing one of the contestants, Mr. Khalid Mahmood, to share his vision that how he can contribute and how he can make a difference after joining the National Council. So, Mr. Khalid Mahmood, welcome on the show, sir. Thank you so much for your time to share your vision with our fellow members. How are you, sir?
Fine. Thank you. First of all, thank you, Abdul Qayyum, for inviting me to this important session.
Thank you, sir. So, without taking time, sir, can you please introduce yourself for our fellow members?
Sure. My name is Khalid Mahmood, and I'm the fellow member of ICMP and the Chief Financial Officer of NBP Pakistan. I have over 19 years experience of mutual fund industry. And with regard to my contribution in ICMP, I have served Karachi Branch Council at various capacity. First in 2012 with Anisur Rahman as Chairman CPT and Seminar Committee. And that time we took some quality initiative like first ever video conference with Institute of Cost Accounting in India. In 2012, the culture of online program and video conference was not common. So even in ICAP, it was not happening. And we took that initiative. The second thing is that we also took the initiative of organizing a good important conference series named as Business Leader Conference. So, and then in 2015, I also served as Chairman Karachi Branch Council. And that was the period full of quality event and programs. We, with the help of competent team, organized 34 seminars, workshops, and 1 mega conference, again, Business Leader Conference, and 6 industry visits for the awareness of the students with business processes of various industries. And we also submit a very important proposal on education policy to the National Council of that time, which was comprising of syllabus realignment, course remapping, cautious and rationalized exemption policy, and quality merit-based faculty hire. So now with the confidence and motivation of several members and friends, I'm going to contest the election for National Council and with some specific manifesto and action plan. So I'm here in front of you.
Excellent, excellent. Impressive profile, mashallah, sir. And before going to your manifesto, Mr. Khalid Mahmood, as you are on a key position in financial services industry, right? So what do you think where ICMAP stands, I mean, as a financial education institute in financial services industry? Are the members, are the qualified students are meeting the expected expertise in the industry? Otherwise, what are the areas of improvements?
The short answer, yes, with regard to the senior members and those who have the experience, they are doing quite well. But with regard to the newly qualified members or relatively new members, they need various exposure. Yes, they are not basically making the justice with the required kind of expectation and desired role. There's a lot of room to groom and update themselves to in the domain of the fintech, data analysis, and the data management, and even in the communication presentation skills. Still, there's a lot of room to improve. So now, particularly with regard to the financial sector, one thing is very important. The financial sectors are very highly regulated industry. Yes. So every time, very frequent new laws, regulations coming in, and which requires the hands-on experience and the in-depth knowledge and the expertise of that domain in the regulation. Like you must have heard about the KYC, know your customer regulation, AML and CFT regulations. So these are very critical regulations which recently introduced in the past. And it is very demanding as well because the regulator has growing emphasis on these regulations. So at the same time, this understanding of knowledge of these regulations can provide the competitive edge our members. Right. So it's very important that the new and even middle-aged members who have relatively lesser experience should realize this important need and the competitiveness of such domain, which may provide the competitive edge over the time, and so that they must learn these areas as early as possible.
Right, right. So secondly, sir, regarding the fintech evolution, or we can say it revolution, where the business models are going to change and completely change in this financial services industry. What do you think ICMAP as a financial education institute, how we can get prepared for upcoming digitalization revolution?
First of all, obviously, we must acknowledge that it's a revolution. Gone are the days when people stand in the queue of a bank to just withdraw the amount from their account. Now, everywhere, ATM machines are available. So yes, there is no interaction with the cashier for a long period. So, yes, so we should realize the need of and the importance of this important age and era. Particularly, if I talk about the financial sector, now I can quote the example of our industry, the mutual fund industry.
Yes.
The regulator has just given the provision for digital account maintenance and the transactions. Now, our industry is ready, and within a shorter time, you will see that we will opening the customer accounts and maintaining their transaction, investment, disinvestment, redemptions, transfer of investment from one fund to another fund on the digital medium.
Yes.
So, and we took the lead in the financial sector. We took the lead, the mutual fund industry.
Great.
Banks are still behind. Right now, the bank is just doing with regard to the Roshan digital account, which is the segment for the overseas and non-resident Pakistanis only. Yes. But the local and resident Pakistani cannot open the account digitally in the banks.
Great.
Here, the mutual fund is taking the lead. So it is very important. Now, this revolution, I think, initiated in the past much earlier. But the pandemic and this COVID issue has accelerated the pace of this revolution at a very fast pace.
Exactly.
So we need to realize that it's new reality, it's new norm. So doing the things in conventional way have changed. Now it's a new way and new norm to do and perform our professional responsibility. So it's very important that we inbuild and incorporate all these important domain in the curriculum and the syllabus and the content of subjects in order to equip our students and qualified so that they should have sound knowledge before approaching the corporate world for the job and doing the services. Perfect. So it's very important. Right now, we are lagging far behind because the only content with regard to the IT sort of environment is limited to the Excel and all these things and some business communication and presentation skills. No, it's not enough. It's not enough anymore.
Yes.
So that's important thing. In this regard, ICAP already has done some job, and we also need to inbuild and incorporate all these important area at the earliest,
right,
and very soon,
right,
before it becomes too late.
Right. So actually, due to this fintech, one financial industry is outside the banks also, like crowdfunding, like various other payment methods, and the other things are also coming. So you think that moving forward to your manifesto also. So you have the in your manifesto. You please explain your manifesto first, and then if you have the changes regarding this fintech and some curriculum updates or something like that. So please with your manifesto.
If I just put my manifesto in a brief manner,
yes.
In one liner, saying, then I can say that the key aspect of my manifesto is to bring back this important academia and institution to the legacy for which it was established and for which it deserves. I had a conversation with a member in the afternoon today, and he is dual qualified. He's the membership of ICAPN as well as ICMP. And he said to me that, look, Khalid, you know what was the distinction of ICMP in early 90s when I qualified ICMP? So he's told me that we had the experience in practical training in ICAP. But in terms of the quality of education, syllabus strength, and the examination, ICMP was much better and ahead over the ICAP.
Right.
And he said that even the audit paper of the ICMP was very difficult to some performing students of ICAP. That was the strength of our education in that era.
Right, right.
So he said, what happened to the quality and standing of the education? So my goal and my prime motto is to bring back to that legacy, because all the recognition aspects, all the branding aspects, all the penetration in the corporate world, all such objectives are associated with our strength. Without having the quality product in terms of our competent management accountant, we cannot get the competitive edge and due recognition and penetration in the market. So right. That's important thing, first of all. Then the next thing is the examination. Obviously, the second thing is the examination criteria and all these important related aspects with regard to the paper setting, invigilation, markers. So we need to have proper control. And obviously, yes, we acknowledge that these aspects are doing a relatively good job. But we need to have a continuous review of all these important domain and control area, so that our quality should not compromise.
Right.
In this regard.
So if we talk particularly, sir, what steps you will take and what your strategy for this re-glorification, as you have mentioned, of ICMAP? What is your strategy for that?
I didn't put the name of re-glorification, first of all. But I got your point. Yes, the getting back the legacy for which we were known for that. I have specific plans. First of all, we need to have check on the advocacy of our syllabus, the content which we are imparting to our student. Okay, right. If you can compare with the ICAP, in ICAP, a bachelor needs to appear in 21 papers. Okay.
Right.
And he or she can get the exemption in 7 papers only when if he got the marks, 75% marks, and respective syllabus subjects have 70% mapping with the syllabus of ICAP. Only then he or she will be entitled to get the exemption.
Right.
Okay. So after meeting such stringent and the tough criteria, he will have to appear in the 14 papers. Now come to the ICMP. ICMP right now have 18 papers. Okay. And out of 18, a bachelor from the business of commerce can get the exemption of 6 papers without passing and meeting any criteria of the passing marks or the course mapping. So you never know from which a student is coming and what kind of performance he had in those subjects. So that's very important area. We need to have a screening criteria. We need to have a check of competency and caliber of the stuff we are getting in this important academia.
Right, right.
Okay.
So you think
that's yeah, please.
Yes. So you think that the revision of exemption policy is the main challenge now?
Yeah. In order to maintain the sanctity and in order to maintain and uplift the standing of the core essence, because the education is the backbone of an institute.
Right.
And it is the core of the standing of the CMA. Without quality is education, we will be nowhere. No academia can go anywhere. Okay, so
Right.
we need to be very vigilant, careful with regard to the advocacy, the relevance, and the competitiveness of these subject. So
right.
we need to, in order to basically provide the competent and highly sought after management content to the corporate world.
Right.
So we need to have regular revisit of the syllabus, the richness of the and depth of the content, so that we can make the our subject relevant, up to date, contemporary, and with all the required emerging trends and knowledge areas.
Right.
So
right.
it's very important.
Right. So besides this, I mean, revision of exemption policy and these things, what do you think, sir? What are the main other challenges institute is facing currently, or in next 3 years? I mean, in your next tenure, what the institute can face the major challenges, and what's your strategy for that?
Fine. So first of all, we need to basically build the standing of our product and our education.
Right.
It's the core thing. And for that, not only the syllabus, rather some other content as well, as because we are not teaching the important emerging trends and the knowledge-based areas like data sciences, data management, analytics, and the fintech, which is ICAP doing. ICAP has all these content in their training module,
right.
But I simply didn't. So first of all, we need to update these important areas, at least in the training module.
Right.
Okay. Then after uplifting the standard of the education, the second thing would come the recognition area.
Right.
Okay. Because in terms of recognition, we have to do a lot of things and a lot of development, because we need and we deserve recognition in terms of the role, responsibility, and the privileges. Be it the financial audit, right, for which 3 million is nothing.
Yes.
We deserve much more. Okay. We have a huge member base, and we can provide much more valuable services to the corporate world in terms of the financial audit. So right. Obviously we will strive hard, and inshallah we hope that we will succeed in increasing the threshold of the financial audit, and it will provide the important opportunity to serve our members and the practicing firms. The second area is the cost audit, and here we need a comprehensive cost audit, right? We should not confine to the few sectors like cement, sugar, oil, and fertilizer, etc.
Right.
The right should be very comprehensive. We should not confine to the manufacturing, as well as even the cost audit is very much important in the service sector as well, because it relates to the efficiency, it's related to the management. So, and then we need the recognition in policy board, advisory councils, and anomaly committees by making substantial contribution, because you can get the recognition only by adding value, not by having the meeting in Islamabad with the bureaucrats and the policymakers.
Right.
We need tangible contributions.
Right.
We also need to make some tangible contribution in the formulation and development of laws and some relevant amendments of the statute, act, and regulation also. These are important areas to reflect our our, our essence, to reflect our skill sets in front of the policy makers. This will provide you the competitive edge.
Right.
Okay.
So what do you think, sir? Why we couldn't succeed till now? If we talk about the charter designation, if we talk about the 10 million threshold, and many other things also, we couldn't get that support from the legislators. What do you think? What is the main reason for that?
There are two things in this regard. First, our preparedness in these areas. Are we ready and prepared enough to get these privileges? Because first you need to show and express your ability to get the rights and the privileges.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So
right.
I believe that there has been some negligence, particularly with regard to the CMA practicing firm structure, and to develop and promote these important domain of the management accountancy and the cost management academia.
Right.
So we, in order to get the audit rights, be it the financial audit or the cost audit, to strengthen our CMA practicing firm structure.
Right.
Unfortunately, pay the due and desired attention here. Say the negligence is not of 1 or 2, it is of the decades. CMA practicing firm to basically expand and to get the desired privileges with regard to the financial audit rights or the cost audit.
Right.
There's some interruption.
Yes, there is some interruption.
Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, I can hear you, sir. Please.
Thank you. So we need to put the desired emphasis here. And for that, first of all, we need to strengthen the quality control review program structure.
Right.
Okay. Without having in proper quality control review program, we cannot basically uplift the standard of the job which are being performed by our CMA practicing firm. Because this important domain has the responsibility and the role not to rate and review their tasks, but also to improve the lacking and the quality of the tasks and the work they perform. So if we monitor and implement this important domain, the quality control review program, through the umbrella of a quality assurance board, which is right now in place. Right now, we have a comprehensive quality assurance board of 14 members, headed by some senior member of Islamabad. Right. But the unfortunate side is that for last 2.5 years, no meeting was held of by quality assurance board. So what were they doing? So that's very critical, that we should take and feel the responsibility of this important domain.
Right.
If we once we do it, then automatically the things will improve in this direction. And once the structure of the CMA practicing firm expands, then obviously we will be able to provide the training, practical training to our CMA student, which is the dire need for a long period, so that they can have a better exposure of the practical tasks and the difficulties of the field.
Right.
So that's very important.
Right. Right. Sir, being an overseas member, I'm pretty much interested to know your agenda regarding the overseas members and overseas branches. What do you think, what are the major challenges overseas members are facing in international market? And what's your strategy to facilitate the overseas members? Because see, almost 1/3 members are overseas based. Maybe I'm wrong, but almost it's a near about the figure. But they couldn't have the support of like CRC. They couldn't have the CPD activities support like the members in Pakistan are having the support. So what's your agenda for the overseas branches and overseas members?
I think our overseas branches are basically our ambassador abroad. So these are very valuable segment of the CMA fraternity. So we need to have proper emphasis on this important segment of our fraternity. And for that, I believe that the institute has a crucial responsibility of facilitating all the ambassadors of ICMAP who are working and living abroad.
Right.
Okay? I think we have the responsibility far above than their relatives, because they can't discuss, I think, or consult their placement needs with their relatives. Exactly. Just to transfer the very, so they are very cautious in this regard. We know that the institute should be the channel where they can easily discuss and get the advices and clue and solution of their problems, be it the placement issues, be it the issue and the need of the knowledge upgradation and updation, CPD activities need, and other important needs of the association, and getting the recognition, because the recognition crisis is also very much impacting abroad as well.
Right.
Okay. Right. So for that, I think we can contribute in the area of the placements by engaging the foreign recruiters with the help of already in place and working overseas members who have the expertise in various domain in the field. So it's a two-way process.
Right.
I believe that after getting into the National Council, we should engage our overseas members through open sessions, and we can seek the advices as well. So we have the plan that we should engage the foreign recruiters, because the placement is a very important issue. Right. If you ask that what is the major issue of the overseas members, the biggest and the foremost issue is the placement and job. So we need to provide the due help and the assistance to our members. Right. Secondly, I believe that overseas members also have the due role in mainstream policy making. Their role should not confine to the branch council, because branch council has a very limited domain. Branch council has the responsibility and the mandate of conducting the CPD activities, right, and other functional activities, but the policy making is not the mandate of the branch council. And for that, I believe we need electoral reforms, which we are proposing. And I have the plan that in order to take on board not only the overseas member, but also to bring the representation of relatively small cities like Multan, Hyderabad, Faisalabad, and Peshawar as well, we need to have electoral reforms. And for that, I have a proposal to increase the number of allocated seats from 8 to 14 or 16, whatever the reasonable number, with the consultation of all the stakeholders and the members' input, that at least we should have, in Pakistan, we should have 3 broader regions, South, Central, and North, where we can accommodate and fix the representation of the small city as well, so that there should not be the sense of deprivation in the members of those areas. And at the same time, we can also bring the representation of the overseas members by allocating the 2 or 3, whatever reasonable number of seats in there, so that they can directly contribute in policy making, the mainstream policy making of the National Council, because they have a very important segment in the role.
Right. So
that is.
Yes, please.
So please.
So current National Council has established the overseas branches, many branches like UAE branch. They have got the registration here in UK, in Australia, in KSA as well. So what's your agenda? I mean, you will carry forward these and we will move forward with these registrations. You will strengthen these branches, or what else?
Our agenda is not to carry forward only. Our agenda is to basically go a step ahead, not to further strengthening these branches. And the branches, be it the local or overseas, the branches should be free from the influence of the National Council. National Council should be behind the respective branches, just to assist, just to take their grievances, just to listen their challenges and the hurdles and the problems. Okay, because I believe the branch is nursery through which we got the right kind of the candidates for the National Council. I'm also going through, I have gone through this important channel, and I believe that this nursery should be nurtured and strengthened in order to basically improve this transitional way of bringing the policymaker at the National Council level.
Right, right. Perfect, sir. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Khalid Mahmood, for giving time to understand about you. And I wish you best of luck and leave your perception to on members. If you want to say something in concluding remarks, you may please.
Thank you very much. I really enjoyed this session and the obviously question you posed to me, and hope I could make the justice in terms of the response of those queries and the questions. Yes. So thank you very much once again.
Thank you very much once again, sir. Once again, I will wish you all the best. So hope for the best, inshallah. Thank you.
Thank you.